Hello, lady. So over here is where that guy's cops there. It's good. Probably no one in the car though. Yeah, no one in the car. They do that over in Chinatown. They would park their cars there with the lights on, but there was no cop in it or around. And everyone knew it was, they were empty. It didn't do a fucking thing. But anyway, this is where that kid was killed a couple weeks ago. Shot here. I guess it says in the report that they were shot into the crowd. But once they got the guy they wanted, there's like right here. They cast it over him and just boom, 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 shot at him, killed him. So yeah, it was a targeted thing, but these guys also don't give a fuck if they hit someone else. It's very mainland. That's a mainland kind of. That's a mainland type of job. Island guys don't normally do that because they wouldn't want to be disrespectful to their ohana, and they wouldn't do stuff like that. Not that brazen, not where they can hurt other people. It's just a different cultural thing. They're just not culturally like that. Mainlanders out there, they don't give a fuck. You know, there's not a lot of empathy there. Empathy, sympathy, all that kind of stuff is sometimes impossible to conjure in some of these dudes. And there's a reason for that can't be discussed, and I'm certainly not going to bring it up, but I'll figure out how to bring it up at some point in a roundabout way. But it's not that they're evil, although what they did was pretty evil. I don't think they think they're evil. I just think their capacity to understand what is right and wrong and what is acceptable is hampered by things outside their control. Not giving them a free pass for this stuff, but it highlights why we have to be a little bit more concerned about certain people in society, you know, what they're capable of. And in the same way, if they were to catch these guys, but they haven't caught them, they would probably feign ignorance or say they didn't do it. And in their mind, they'd be right, because they're not being caught doing it. They're at home, so they're not doing it, and they wouldn't be lying. I know this sounds strange, but you know, it's stuff you can't really study. You know, there was a famous doctor that went to another country. We're going to keep very general about this, to study these kind of differences, and what he came down to was that abstract thinking can be prohibited in certain individuals who are physiologically different, or who has a different brain map, or because our brains are all different, you know. And they took away all his shit. They took away his accreditation and called him a bad man. It wasn't because what they thought he did was disrespectful to people by saying these things. It's they didn't want that information getting out, because it would hurt their grip. Anything that undermines their grip, you're never going to be able to talk about. Yeah, it isn't so much like, you know, a lot of people think, oh, we can't talk about that because they're trying to protect this kind of class or that. They don't like anybody. They see everybody as the same. You know, there's two sides. There's them, which is a very small group, and it's not just the Jews. It's like a lot of different people that are enswaged with fucking Lucifer. You know, I mean, they are part of it, sure, but there are all kinds of different people that are part of it. So it's just them, very small group, and everybody else. So they don't care about any group. The reason they will sometimes defend some is to make the other groups mad, cause chaos, and on top of it, they don't want that kind of information getting out, where then people can kind of do some discernment on their own. They don't want that happening, you know, because it's not good for their deal. You know, they're farmers. They want complete control of their cattle, you know. So yeah, they're not doing these things like, you know, you can't discuss it because people are protected class. No, they just don't want you to have that information, because it would open a whole fucking can of worms. So, well, if that's true, then what about this? You know, whatever. I was talking to Base Commando in the Base Commodore. Oh Jesus, I do that to him all the time. Yeah, about how he found that his dad didn't have an inner voice. I've never kind of tried to figure that out with any of my family because it's kind of horrifying to learn that information, you know. But I kind of don't want to know if Anon's math was right. The totally anonymous dude on the internet whose study I keep citing. That's what everybody else does anyway. You know, science boys do that. They cite one guy that kind of said something and they blow it up in 10 different directions and call it fact. So, settled science on my side too, guys. I do the same thing here. If we can take his study to be, you know, near some kind of reality, then you're probably the only one in your family that does have an inner voice. The other day when I was attempting to explain NPCs, robotic beings, soulless, people lacking divinity, system tools, people that were put here to help facilitate the tests of the people with divinity so that they can expand their whatever it is they're supposed to learn or grow into. The thing is, a way you can figure out if they're not like you is the inner dialogue. I have an inner dialogue that runs, it's a little bit too active. I've likened it to a Roman court. At times it's always going on, you know, it's always running. And what it is, for those who don't have it, and I'm sure you must have it if you're here, you wouldn't be drawn to a guy like me. That's how it works with me too. All the people I found online, you know, like, you know, for instance, Base Commodore himself. I find myself with these people. I find myself just walking into their channel, or you know, I just stumble into them because I'm meant to find them. I'm meant to be there. We want to come together, those that have a certain level of awareness. Energy is always trying to come together to find itself because we're all one thing. So we're constantly trying to come back together. And those that are alike, you know, kind of try to find like-minded people. The whole idea of being a missionary and trying to explain people that the world is completely fake and all this kind of stuff, just waste of time. We talked about this the other day. But getting back to the inner monologue thing, some people don't have that. And when we try to explain it, well, like for instance, my inner monologue, I'll be like, I wake up and in my head I think, fuck, what time is it? Where do I put my phone? Fuck. I don't like how I wake up and I always have to grab my phone. Why do I always have to grab my phone? It's like I'm addicted to that thing. Sometimes I'll start verbally saying my thoughts out loud, like, what the fuck, where is this now, you know? Or I'll talk to my wife or something, but this runs all day. This runs all day. And it's not a big deal, but to people that don't have it, it must sound like terrifying, right? Another way, too, is as creative beings, we can create things in our mind to then have an effect here on the screen. We're creators. That's why we're used. So that's why we're used and abused the way we are. What you do is you ask someone, just the test is usually the apple test. Can you picture an apple in your head? Just imagine an apple. Can you do that? If you can't do that, then it's a very high likelihood that they're a system tool. You got to treat them the same now. Treat them just like they would, you know, you'd want to be treated yourself. Act like they do have a soul, you know, because a lot of this gig is about behavior, how you treat people around you. It's absolutely seen, it's absolutely documented. You're not getting away with anything, you know, like how the Orthodox Jews used to hang string on lampposts in New York so they could go out on holidays and God wouldn't see them. They're always trying to trick God. They have a whole book about tricking God. You know, the Talmud. They have their holy book, like a Torah, which is their holy book, and then they have the Talmud, which is like the accompanying lawyer volume, which says, well, you can sleep with an underage child as long as it's under, like, what, 7 years of age or something, and you can't marry her. It's all these weird, like, sadistic kind of shit, but they don't like people talking about the Talmud. I can see why. It's a fucked up book. Definitely check out the Talmud. You'll see what they think of you. And again, not all Jews. I mean, there are plenty of Jews I know that have not read the Talmud, don't even know what it is. It's a group within a group, and that, you know, we've been over that many times. So yeah, if you don't have if you don't have an inner dialogue, then you're kind of a fucking robot. It's not something you can develop. It's not something you work on. You either have it or you don't. If you can picture things in your mind, you're probably not a robot. You know, but some people, you know, when you see I've seen Twitter threads on this that people had posted on poll just to show the reactions people had. And like, what do you mean? Like, see it like a picture? It's like, yeah, just think of an apple in your head. But what apple? Like they just don't understand the concept. You should always practice that. Like, not only picture an apple, picture the color, the shape, the size. Try to feel it as if you would pick it up. Does it have like little green leaves on the top? The more detail, and it isn't so much detail, the more energy you put into making that apple look as real as it can in the ether, in your mind, the more of an effect that apple will have here on the 3D. That's everything. That's how all this shit works. I've explained this before. It's settled science. You know, you want a door to stay open, right? You can't just stare at the door and like use fucking the force and open it up. But you can imagine in your mind maybe a hammer banging that door, and imagine what color it is, what kind of materials are made with it. This is just one of my famous shitty examples. And try to envision that hammer in your head, in the ether, and with the hopes that it will open the door by exerting pressure on the 3D here from where you invented it in the ether in your mind. That's the whole thing. Imagination is the back end of reality. That's what it is. Now, I'd love for someone to come along and explain to me how that's wrong. Anywhere. I don't even mean just here. I mean, you know, and you know, it's a small channel, but anywhere else. You know, I like to, and perhaps there will be some crazy kind of breakthrough, you know, and I'll have to change my position on that. But I don't think there will be. I could get much. I should probably do a lot more on that, because that's more important, I think, than talking about the differences between Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel. But I got to do those kind of bullshit things sometimes. I don't know. So I don't go into the fetal position, I guess. You know, those things that's a consideration. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.